My next reading project is children's stories from old British and Irish legends. This is part of the World Legends series. I picked this book up in a bookstore here in Vietnam, where I'm currently living in Saigon City. And it looked to me like it was a classic retelling of some old British and Irish legends. When I say classic, I mean, well, you know what I mean. An old famous book from the canon of Western literature, and you can see that these illustrations here certainly look like they're from an old book. And I just, it's a children's book, but looked to be also a classic children's book. And I'm interested in old legends, and especially I think recently I've become more interested in the medieval European legends as I've become more interested in fantasy literature. I know Greek mythology, and I maybe know some of the modern fantasy genre, but the intervening years where these archetypes were being established, I thought that would be interesting to read about. I've read some retellings of King Arthur, but the other legendary stories of Britain and Ireland and Wales I'm largely ignorant about, so I thought that would be interesting to read about. So I thought I would pick this book up. It looks like it would be nice and short and easy to read, and be an easy way to knock another book under my belt, and get another book read for this year. As I mentioned a couple of videos back, I'm looking for the second half of this year to try and target maybe shorter, easier books after having gotten bogged down in a number of longer and more difficult books in the first half of this year. Anyways, after I got this book home, I tried to look it up on Wikipedia to get more information about it, and actually had a hard time finding any information about this book online. Now, if you look at the book, it's a little bit hard to figure out who the author even is. I mean, there's no author listed here. No author listed here. No author listed here. To find the author, you actually have to find it in small print here. Written by J. Emmerson-Hicks. So I looked up J. Emmerson-Hicks on Google, and I forget exactly what the full name is, but I believe it's a woman. The J is short for Gemina or something like that. Hopefully I'm not remembering that completely wrong. Who does have a website and who does have an Amazon page, but doesn't appear to be particularly famous. There's no Wikipedia page or anything like that. And this appears to be not an old classic, but just a new book that was published by North Parade Publishing. And I looked up North Parade Publishing on Google, and they're based in the UK. And this is part of their, what do they call their World Legend series. But it's not a classic book. It's a new book, a modern retelling. But you look at these pictures and you think, okay, those are definitely an older style of illustration. Well, the illustrations come from Harry G. Theaker, is how you pronounce that, I guess, who, was an older illustrator, born in, 1875 or something, died in the first half of the 20th century, and did a number of illustrations for books during his lifetime. So the illustrations come, I guess they must be in the public domain by now. There seemed to be actually, I was looking this up on Google, there was at least one other book published. I think this one was called Old British Legends. So not this one is Old British and Irish Legends. The other one was called Old British Legends, and that was by Dorothy something. And they were also using these old illustrations, but that by a different author. So yeah, I guess these illustrations must be in the public domain, and any publisher who wants to hire a new author to write new retellings of these, I guess, is free to do so. So I mean, the illustrations are really beautiful, aren't they? That's one of the main reasons I bought this book, is because I'm a big sucker for beautifully illustrated books like this. And I haven't read the book yet, but just kind of skimming through it and looking at the prose style, it does look very readable. And, maybe that's the advantage of having a modern book. I'm not sure who this author is again, but she seems to be quite prolific. She's got a lot of books on Amazon. She's definitely a working author who's been doing a lot of work. Now, just to make sure that these aren't completely made up, that this is somewhat authentic, I did Google some of these online. So I Googled, however you pronounce this, Purell, Prince of Defid, and was reading the Wikipedia article about him and some of these others. So these are real British and Irish legends. How faithfully they're retold here, well, who knows? I don't think I've heard of any of these beforehand. I'm not an expert, so I'm just going to consider this an introduction. So yeah, it's another children's book, but it should be educational for me. I should learn something about old British or Irish legends. We'll see how interesting they are. I mean, when I read the Brothers Grimm fairy tales book a couple years ago, I did kind of complain about how repetitive all the stories were after a while. Now, this is not marketed as fairy tales. This is marketed as legends, which do read a little bit differently. Although sometimes the titles can be interchangeable. And come to think of it, Grimm Brothers fairy tales contained 10 quote-unquote legends as part of that collection. As I mentioned in my review of that, I couldn't tell the difference between what a Grimm Brothers fairy tale was and a Grimm Brothers legend. But anyways, hoping this will be somewhat educational and I'll be better educated about British and Irish legends by the end of it. Either way, it looks like a pretty easy read, less than 200 pages. So hopefully I'll knock this out pretty quickly and be back with a review soon.